Hi everyone, thanks for joining me once again for another set of stories. If you haven't been here before, my name is Peter, the channel's Thailandbound, and I make videos about Thailand. Right, okay, I've got 5 stories, so we're on a bit of a marathon today. I'm a little bit short of stories again, so as always, if you're sitting on a story, please send it in. I'll change names, make it anonymous, and you can have your story read out right here. Right, before I jump into the stories, I just want to explain something. I've cut back now on my live streams. I used to do them every Sunday night, 9 p.m. for everybody, then 10:45 for members. I've now cut that back to fortnightly, every 2 weeks. I've had 1 or 2 people not very happy about it, but I'll just explain the reason why I've done that very, very briefly. I feel that the live streams are becoming monotonous every week. It's the same sort of thing, you know, talking about the same thing every week. And it's very difficult to actually go out and do live streams outside because of copyright music and just people getting in the way and everything. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to put out more videos, okay? You might have noticed already that there are a lot more videos being uploaded. And I'll still keep the live streams going every other week because some people do like them. But just for now, I'm not saying forever, just for now, I'm going to be doing them every 2 weeks, every other Sunday. And I'm going to try and get more videos, get out there and do a bit more film, and I think that's what it's about. Okay, right, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the first of 5 stories today.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Hello Peter, I'm a long-time listener and would like to share one of my stories with you. You have my consent to use my story. I've already changed the names of those involved. Also, when not using a version of my real name, I typically use the alias Mason. When online, I'm an American attorney who primarily practices international law. A few years ago, my work brought me to Korea just outside of Seoul. One day, I received an advert, a business card magnet stuck to the door of my apartment. It was an advertisement for in-home Thai massage, 2-hour massages for what equates to about $80. Later, I'd found out that this is the typical rate. There wasn't much else on the advert other than its business hours, 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. I'm not naive. Any massage place that announces business hours from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. is offering aerobics, not actual massages. One night, after a bit too much alcohol, I texted the number to inquire about a massage. The text back contained images of 6 different providers. I remember scrolling through the photos and selecting Som. The aerobics were aerobics. What I primarily took away was her story of coming to Korea from Isan in Thailand. A week or 2 later, I inquired about another massage as Som was already booked. I settled on Tay. Aerobics and so on, but other fascinating story of being a young mother trying to provide for her child and family back in Isan. A few nights later, another massage, but this time from Cop. Som was now gone and Cop had replaced her. Another fascinating story, though quite similar to Tay. This behaviour went on for a couple of months. Looking back, I'm a bit embarrassed and quite ashamed that I thought of these ladies as Pokemon. I had to catch all of them. There were already 5 or 6 girls working at the shop. Some would fall off the advertising texts I would get from the lady that ran the in-house massage service. I later learned that those who had vanished were deported back to Thailand. Apparently, the vast majority of them had all overstayed their visas for at least a few years. It didn't take long for the girls to find out that I was an attorney. One night, by coincidence, I ran into Cop at a bar in the foreigner nightlife district in Seoul. She had explained to me that one of her friends had a child with an American guy who was in the picture for a couple of months, but then wanted nothing to do with the child. Long story short, I was able to help Cop's friend get regular support payments. Word spread quickly around the thai-girls. In a month's time, I quickly found myself helping several Thai ladies in Korea. Immigration issues, marriage to foreigner, support payments, abusive boyfriend issues, many were afraid to report due to the overstaying visas. Needless to say, this made me quite popular amongst Thai ladies from several massage shops. I frequently found myself in many of their homes, going out with groups of them, invited to their parties, etc. It was quite fun being the only male in this group, maybe I should say the only person who identified as a male, as there were a couple of Katoys in the group. I no longer paid for all the aerobics, but an endless supply of aerobics sometimes led to feelings of complete emptiness. One night, I met a friend of a friend, Apple. Apple and I hit it off immediately. We went out together, stayed in luxury beach hotels in beach resort areas in Korea. Had a fantastic time with her. It didn't strike me as odd at the time, but Apple would always come over to my place. I never went to hers. Maybe I assumed she lived with a bunch of other Thai ladies and didn't want me over there around other Thai females. I'm an Asian American, so I do understand that the Asian lady jealousy some people refer to can run deep. Apple and I always knew that it wouldn't last forever. My working career was running down and my home office wanted me back in the States. Apple and I were never official, but in reality did feel like we were for a few months. Before I returned to the States, I took a solo trip to Bangkok, Krung Thep and Bangkok. I fell in love with Thailand. I even visited Apple's favourite restaurants in Bangkok and shopping areas she liked. She had grown up in Bangkok, she travelled to Korea several years ago and has lived there with an expired visa. This brought Apple and I closer. I was destined for the States soon, but I began looking for jobs in Thailand that would pay similar to the income I was earning at the time. Luck favoured me. I was able to secure a job in Bangkok as an American attorney. Earning a healthy six-figure American salary in Bangkok really has its perks. Apple told me that she would self-deport once I got to Thailand. I was thrilled for this. Maybe you can take a massage girl out of the massage parlour. I was quite happy that I could change her life in a big way. About a month later, I had to return to the States for a few months before I could make the move to Bangkok. During that time, Apple and I continued to video call with each other daily. However, after 3 weeks of being in the States, I got an anonymous text telling me that Apple has a long-term Farang boyfriend in Korea that she lives with and has been dating for years. Apparently, she runs around on this guy from time to time. Apple and I were never official, so I couldn't say I was mad. I know that she's supporting her parents and siblings, that she has to earn a living, but I was pretty sick at the ruse she had kept going on for months. I fell out of contact with Apple, but still regularly talked to several of the ladies from my career days. They all know that I'm doing well in Bangkok, and we constantly joke that I'll be amongst the first people they visit after their eventual deportation from Korea. Recently, Apple reached out to me. She's going to self-deport back to Thailand. I know that she's already started sending much of her stuff back to Bangkok. She joked that she would live with me as a living cleaning lady. I'm sure she was just testing the waters for my response. At one point in my life, I really think I wanted to change Apple's life for the better. I still could, but I keep thinking about the ruse she played before. It's taken me a while, but I'm now totally behind the saying that you can't take the bar or hustle out of the bar girl. So it's quite normal for, girls in Thailand who are in this business, working business in bars and what have you, to go abroad. I once had a bar girl tell me that, she said to me, in Thailand we can't make big money, but when we go abroad we can make really big money because obviously they get paid a lot more. But the only thing that caught me about this story, the guy was a bit upset that he was seeing this girl Apple and then she had a boyfriend, but actually he'd said in the beginning of the story that it was like a game of Pokemon. He had to have them all. So I suppose it's a case of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Right, okay, let's jump straight into story number 2. Hi Peter, I've watched your channel for a while now and enjoy the stories. I've heard you asking for more stories as you are getting low. So here's one of mine. I visit Thailand every year for a few weeks at a time, sometimes twice a year, and have been coming since 2017. This story begins in Scotland. Me and my girlfriend broke up. I had been with her over 3 years, and I swore to myself if this has ever happened, I would visit the places I always wanted to go as a single man. One of these places was Thailand, and in particular Phuket. I had seen many YouTube videos and thought it looked like an awesome place to check out, but not the place to take my girlfriend. I asked a few friends if they wanted to travel, but they were all in relationships and were not allowed. Their wives or girlfriends would not allow them to travel to Thailand alone, so no surprise there. I booked a flight to Phuket and then thought to myself, no turning back now, as I travelled to Phuket on the aircraft. I was excited and somewhat nervous as I didn't know what to expect, as I was taking a leap of faith and I just wanted to experience more from life As you know, the UK is pretty boring. The weather sucks and the women are all stuck up and act like men and want to argue. I thought surely Thailand has more to offer, and I had heard the stories of these beautiful, lovely Thai girls that men come to meet after their Western failed relationships go bad. As the plane doors open, I was hit by 40 degrees heat of Phuket in March, and my first thought was I'm going to need some sunscreen or burn. That day, I got to Patong Heritage Hotel and crashed out from jet lag. I woke up at about 8:30 p.m. and I thought, time to go out and see what this place has to offer. As I walked down the famous Bangla Road, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like Disneyland for men. Hot, beautiful, tanned women everywhere, begging me to come in for drinks and take them home. I knew straight away this was heaven on earth. I thought there is nothing better than this, but I was wrong. I discovered the go-go bars, and again, my mind was blown, and it was like my wildest fantasies had come true. I thought to myself, I'm so glad I'm single these days. As the girls danced, I picked out this stunning slim beauty with long dark hair. She was gorgeous, right up my street, as they say. This was a few years ago, so I can't remember her name, but let's just call her Nock. As I spoke with Nock and had a couple of drinks, she soon asked, can my girlfriend join us? I thought, sure, grinning from ear to ear. Her friend was even better looking than Nock. I thought, how have I missed her? A small, slim, tan-skinned beauty with dyed blonde hair with darker highlights at the bottom of her hair. Again, can't remember her name, but we'll call her Pun. I continued to have drinks with both Nock and Pun before the female manager said, you want to take ladies to hotel? I thought absolutely, so I paid the bar fines and we headed off to my hotel. I had one of the best nights of my life with two stunning Thai ladies. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Then both girls left in the morning after a fantastic night of aerobics. I couldn't get the night out of my head, it was truly epic. As the holiday progressed, I ended up meeting with a few Thai girls from both the bars and the Tinder app. Many of them never asked me for taxi fares and simply wanted to be with me, and in fact, after spending the night with some of them, I had to be fairly cruel and tell them they needed to go in the morning, as many of them suggested they spend the day showing me around or we go to the beach together and so on. I wasn't interested in this at all. I should add that at this time I was in my late 20s, hit the gym regular, and I'd like to think I wasn't such a bad looking guy back then. As I said earlier, I visit Thailand regular now and have navigated large parts of the country. I have gained valuable experiences with the ladies and country in general. I always tell people, play the game and don't let the game play you. It's like a big game of chess. After all, you just need to make decisions wisely and not fall in love with some of these girls. Trust me, it's very difficult. I should know. I came close to several. Anyway, keep up the good work, Peter. I love the channel and stories, and I'd be happy to send you more of my stories if you would like them. I'm back after the new year to Bangkok if you fancy a beer. I would be happy to meet you and treat you to a beer. I hope you enjoyed my first story and I will continue to watch your channel. It would be interesting to get a story from this guy kind of later on after he'd been here several times, because what tends to happen is when guys arrive in Thailand for the very first time, they think they've died and gone to heaven, but that soon wears off when you've been here, you know, quite a few times. As I say, it would be interesting to get another story from him, but later on after several trips. Right, into story number 3. I was in and around Sukhumvit as usual on my vacation before heading south to Phuket. I always try to get a couple of nights in Bangkok when I fly in or out, especially on long vacations. I was having a few drinks with a buddy near Soi 11. The bar on the corner where you get people watch. It's an Irish bar, but I can't recall the name. Anyway, we had had our fill and said goodbye until the next time. I was walking back to my hotel when one of the girls on the street stood in front of me and tried to get me to go with her. You know the usual stuff they do when they see a guy walking alone. After I made it clear I didn't want to know, she released my arm. I was walking towards my hotel on Soi 4 when I passed a small Soi 7 I think it was, or Soi 7/1. It's like a dead-end Soi with lots of bars. I decided I would have one more drink there and maybe get a massage. So I walked down the Soi and was kind of dragged into the first bar. I was willing to enter. After I bought a drink and one for the girl, we were chatting and she was clearly very keen to get me upstairs where they had rooms for massage. I always thought of these bars and massage places in Bangkok as safe and no worries or concerns for any customers who go there. So we agreed on a price to go upstairs for an hour's massage. When we got to the room, I noticed a small red light near the air conditioning unit above the massage table, but I thought nothing of it. She started to massage me, and to be honest, I was so relaxed I was falling asleep. Things got heated and we were moving around to speak. Then she asked me to move around on the massage bed, so I was kind of on the side of it. She then asked me if it was okay to switch the light on and open the door, which was a huge red flag for me, as I immediately thought, what the hell for? The door was open by a few inches and she said because the air conditioner wasn't good and she wanted to let some air into the room. I said no, of course I was semi-naked on the massage bed and obviously didn't want the door open. So I got up to close the door and saw the security camera that was in the corridor was pointing straight into the room. I closed the door, then took another look at the small red light under the air conditioning unit, but still couldn't work out what it was. Anyway, with her wanting to move me around, turn on the light, open the door, plus seeing the red light and camera aiming at me, I got dressed immediately and left. I walked straight out of the bar without saying anything to anyone. I had thought of mentioning it to the management, but thought better of it, as I knew I was a little bit tipsy and it wouldn't have served any purpose at the time. I tried to research any other similar incidents online, but found nothing. I guess this story is a small word of warning to your listeners about their privacy and behaviour when they have a few too many. Be a bit vigilant where you end up. I was also curious if anyone else has experienced this. Right, okay, this would be good. If you're one of these guys and you've had a similar experience, you've gone into a room and you've seen a camera, you've caught somebody playing about with the camera or whatever, leave it in the comments, and you might even have a story that you can send in, but it'd be interesting to get some of these comments. This is a big problem in Korea. I was watching some documentary style movies on YouTube, short movies, and apparently it's a big problem in Korea. People book into small hotels, stick cameras in the rooms, and they're always finding them. And it's always been a concern for me here in Thailand, because I like a massage. There's nothing like a good massage to make you feel good, set you up for the day. And you know, when you have a massage, you strip down to the bare minimum, and the last thing you want is for you know, a camera in the room. And I've always been aware of it. Whenever I check into any hotel, actually, I have an app on my phone. I can't remember the name of it, but if you go on to Google and just search for apps that find cameras, basically you've got enough. Your camera can actually detect. Your phone rather can actually detect cameras, hidden cameras, from infrared and all sorts of other different ways. So it's probably worth downloading something like that, because you never know. You know, you value your privacy. The last thing you want is for you to turn up on the internet. It's not a great place to be, is it? Right, let's crack on, because I've still got 2 more stories to go. I first went to Thailand in 2017 and met 2 friends in Pattaya. It was my first time to Pattaya, so they were showing me around all the best sois and bars to visit. We started our bar crawl most evenings at around 9 p.m. We ended up going to soi 6 or 7. I can't remember which one now. Anyway, I was pulled into one of the bars by a bunch of females. As soon as we entered, the manager tried to pair us all off with girls. The women were below average in appearance and barely spoke any English, but we were so drunk that we didn't care. A few hours later, I find myself talking to another girl, and not the girl I was hooked up with. This other girl spoke almost perfect English, and she was a stunner. I thought she was a bar girl, so I tried to make a move. She refused my attentions and made it clear she was not interested. It turns out she was a friend of the bar owner's son and was just there to have free drinks. I apologised and told her it's my first time in Thailand and Pattaya, and just laughed and accepted my apology. At around 1 p.m, my friends and I decided to go to Walking Street. Far, who was the girl I had apologised to, and her friend, the owner's son, and a few other ladies from the bar came with us. We went into plenty of bars along Walking Street for drinks. Far and I were getting closer. We were dancing with each other and she was extremely flirty. We even kissed a few times. I wanted to take her back to my hotel, or at least carry on the night, but I had no idea if she was up for it. I didn't know if Thai girls are like that and if they were that easy or if I had to work at it. I knew she was single and she wasn't with the bar owner's son because he was gay. In the end, it seemed like Far made the decision for us because as it was getting light outside, she turned to me and said, "When are we going back to your hotel?" We all know what happened after that. We would have daily aerobic sessions when she would come to my hotel after work. She worked as a tattoo artist. Some days we would go out to a mall or a restaurant or cinema and I would splash out for both of us. I was earning really good money, so I didn't mind splashing out. Sometimes I would give her money to get her hair done or get a massage or buy a couple of bottles for us at the bars and clubs. One day she was looking at one of my watches. It was expensive. I had been given it as a gift from my family. Far then told me that it was her birthday was coming soon and she wanted a similar watch as a present. I thought she was just kidding around, thinking out loud, but then she demanded that I buy her one because I have a lot of money. I just laughed and jokingly said tomorrow. Every time she would bring it up, I would say tomorrow. Far's birthday was getting closer. We were shopping in the mall next to the Hilton Hotel and walked past an expensive watch shop. She dragged me in and told me which watch she wanted. I showed no interest. That night, after a session of aerobics, she asked again if I was going to buy the watch for her. With a serious face, I told her no. She got upset and gave me the ultimatum of buying the watch or she will leave. So I opened the door and said bye. She started crying and left immediately. I went to sleep. The next morning, I got a barrage of texts and missed calls from Far. She kept saying how sorry she was and she wanted to get back together and that she misses me. I decided that I was in too deep and I should cut it off as soon as I can. I was also a bit paranoid that she might do something extreme or foolish. So I blocked her number and moved hotels to Jomtien. As I was unpacking my stuff at the new hotel in Jomtien, I realised that I was missing a bottle of expensive aftershave. I went back to the hotel I had just left and searched a room. I'd stayed in, but it wasn't there. I then remembered how Cop would always use my cologne, especially the missing bottle, as she said it was her favourite and she wanted one. That's when I realised she took my cologne. Anyway, to conclude the story, I stayed in Pattaya for too long. What was supposed to be a 5-day stay ended up a 2.5-week stay because of Far. I didn't have long left, so I decided to head back to Bangkok and finish the rest of my vacation with friends. And if you're wondering what happened to Far, well, she found me on Facebook, but I didn't accept her friend's request. I just blocked her. Okay, look, it's Pattaya, okay? It doesn't matter where you meet a girl in Pattaya. The chances are she's out for what she can get. You know, this story about trying to get this expensive watch from him, she was obviously playing him, thought he might buy her it. She's got a great payday then. And she even gave him an ultimatum, say, if you don't buy me the watch, I'm leaving the room. There's a chance he might have said, yeah, okay then, but he's not stupid, he didn't. And then she stole his bottle of expensive aftershave. So just, be really, really careful. What can just be a standard bottle of aftershave that you leave on the side, for one of those Thai girls working in the bars, they know they're expensive. They know the value of things and they'll take it. A lot of them, not all of them. I don't want to tar them all with the same brush, but just, put everything in the safe, even your aftershave, and you should be safe. Right, I'm going to give you a warning. This is our final story today. Now, if you listen to my stories or my viewers' stories over breakfast or you're eating a meal or something like that, I would definitely turn this off right now. You don't want to be eating a meal when you listen to this story, okay? So I have warned you, and it gets a bit grubby towards the end. Let's just say that. Let's get straight into it. I have a story to share with you that has equally amused and grossed out my friends when I've told it to them. When travelling to and from Thailand, because of there being no direct flights from the north of England, I normally fly to Bangkok via Dubai with Emirates Airline with a 2 to 6 hour layover, depending on direction and which one of their flights from Dubai to Bangkok I can get booked on. After a fun 2 weeks in Thailand in February 2020, visiting Bangkok, Hua Hin and then Udon Thani and some of its surrounding cities, it was time to make my way back home. As I was travelling down from Isan, I booked the last Thai Smile flight from Udon Thani at about 8 p.m. It's an easy 1-hour flight to Bangkok Airport, arriving a little after 9 p.m. with Emirates out of Bangkok to Dubai. There were 3 flight choices. 9:30 p.m, which wouldn't work out with the flight coming from Udon Thani. 1:30 a.m. the flight I was booked on, and 2:30 a.m. which leaves a very tight connection time in Dubai. After landing in Bangkok, I proceeded to head through domestic arrivals to pick up my luggage, then head to the exit and go to the 4th floor to check in for my next flight. The Emirates check-in counters is on row T or U, I think it is, the opposite end to where I'd come up the escalators from the domestic arrivals. So after weaving in and out of the crowds of tourists, I finally made it to the row and joined the queue for check-in. The queue was quite long, snaking backwards and forwards on itself several times through the cordon setup, but with lots of counters open and a couple of friendly Thai staff to guide you through the correct line, and then a few more at the front prompting people to the next counter as soon as one became free, including sending people to counters reserved for first class, business class groups, etc. The queue moved at a steady pace, and before long I was on the last leg of the queue facing the counters. It was while there that I noticed an older grey-haired guy come up the channel that they had set up as an exit to funnel you out towards departures once you finished checking in. This guy was looking to jump the queue and was making his way to the last counter once it became available. A male Thai airline staff member who was marshalling the front of the queue quickly spotted him and rushed up to explain that he'd come up the exit and he has to go back to join the queue like everybody else. The older man just stood there mumbling, slurring something, but ignoring any instructions. By this point, I had moved forward a little and had a better view of the man. He was in a t-shirt and a pair of white shorts that were heavily stained yellow around the crotch area. After a few more attempts at persuasion with the help of a female colleague, including trying to lead him by the arm, which didn't work, I assumed the airport worker must have given up for an easy life and decided to allow the old man to jump the queue and proceed to the check-in on the last counter once it became available. After trying to check in with something that wasn't a passport and overhearing the two airport staff trying to get through to the slurring man, who was speaking some kind of broken, drunken English and being rude and acting like the Thais were in the wrong, he needed a passport to check in, and what he handed over wasn't a passport and looked from a distance like the card holders hotels give you to keep your room card in. This went on for a few minutes. They eventually got him to open his bum bag and found his passport and proceeded to check him in and put his case on the scales. It was while doing this that I noticed the two Thai ladies suddenly jumped back slightly, and because he didn't have the two Thais blocking his view, everyone could see the man standing and swaying at the counter had started to urinate there at the counter. It was flowing out of the bottom of his shorts and splashing up off the floor. Now the Thais, being polite and not wanting to draw any attention or embarrass the guy, carried on as normal until he was gone and then set about the job of cleaning up the mess. To say the people in the queue were shocked would be an understatement, but there was worse to come after he was finished at the counter and he turned to leave. We got a view of what could have possibly been the reason the Thais let him jump the queue to begin with. To quickly get him out of the way, we now had a very clear view of the back of his white shorts. Well, what was once white shorts? There was very heavy brown stains and soiling all over the back of his shorts. We couldn't believe what we were seeing and thought was certainly running through my head that he had checked in his hold luggage and had no hand luggage, so no possible way of changing out of them shorts and into some fresh clothes. My next thought was there were only 2 Emirates flights open, so I now had a 50-50 chance of being on the same flights as this smelly drunk, and some unfortunate person is going to have to sit next to him for 6 hours to Dubai. Talk about a way to ruin the end of your holiday. Check-in proceeded as normal after that, although a little slower, as the Thais closed a few of the counters while the clean-up operation got underway and there was no slipping or being splashed with urine. Later on, after the usual check-in and departure stuff, I proceeded to the gate for boarding, and shock horror, the older man was on my flight and was still wearing those white shorts, which were now looking worse than ever. I knew someone was going to have the unlucky and uncomfortable flight. They started boarding by zone. I was waiting for zone B to be called, and all the while hoping he would be boarding to a different zone and therefore a different section of the aircraft. They proceeded, D, then E, then F. Thank God he boarded at this point, and I was more than happy that the zone I was in was the last to board. I settled into the flight and relaxed and never thought about that old guy again for the rest of the flight. At Dubai, there was a delay with one of the walkways, so the area of the plane I was on was the last to disembark, and I was in no particular rush with me having a 2.5 hour transit. I took my time, so never seen the older man getting off the plane. After a bit of a walk around and refueling on snacks, I went to the departure gates for the flight back to Newcastle. It was while waiting to get into the gate I noticed him at the opposite gate waiting for the same flight back to Manchester. Thankfully, he no longer had those shorts on and was instead wearing a pair of jogging pants. How had he got them? I will never know. Did he purchase them in Dubai? Did some kind stranger give him a change of clothes? Did the airline give them and make him change so as not to upset the other passengers? Now, I know it's probably wrong of me to laugh or judge this person, not knowing his circumstances or any possible medical conditions that could have contributed to the state he found himself in on that day, or if it is a simple case of what most people I've told this story to think it is. An older man, too much fun on the last day of his holidays and too much to drink. But I think there's one thing everyone can agree on, that wearing a pair of white shorts all day and then a night flight is a very bad idea unless you have a change of clothes in your hand luggage. Isn't that a disgusting story? I've often wondered, when people travel, sometimes they get blind drunk in the airport and they get refused to go on the aircraft and stuff like that. It just seems some people can't control themselves. I don't know what the story was with this guy, but frankly speaking, if it was me, I would have ran out of the airport. I wouldn't have walked out, I would have run out because I would have been too embarrassed at the state of myself. I would have got some trousers somewhere, but like he says, you don't know if the guy had a medical condition or he was just absolutely drunk. Okay, guys, that's it once again. I am getting very low on stories now, so as I always say, if you are sitting on a story, send it in. I'll change the names, I'll make it anonymous, and you too can have your story read out right here. Okay, that's it for this week, guys. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next Saturday for another set of stories.